There, we're all good to go. Welcome. I think we're live. Everywhere. Hi, everybody. Hi on YouTube. This is a great day for the world because we are going to be talking about what the church is going to do to reach kids in this season. What I need to do is just get a confirmation that we're live on Facebook at some point as well, hopefully. So, okay, I can hear everything going on. In a moment, we're going to be joined by Jess Mclean, Hillsong Kids pastor across most of the globe, and a whole bunch of other guests. But before we do that, I just need to welcome all of our guests around the world and anybody watching this in replay on YouTube later on. Last week, we did a very similar thing to this for the time zones of America and our kind of Australia side of the world. This one is more about Europe and Africa, and we have a bunch of people watching from those time zones. If you would like to comment on YouTube or on Facebook, then go for it. I can see them. I'm going to be able to see your comments in front of me. If there are any questions, we'll probably do some question time later on. But if I see a good question coming up as we're doing our little live session here, I'm going to jump straight to them, and maybe you can answer them. Now, a few people coming up today. We've got Jeff McCullough from America, in the middle of the night in America. It's fantastic. He's going to join us from Jumpstart 3. We've got Alex from the UK, Simon Parry from the UK, Keith, a lot of UK people, Keith Reid and Taryn Mundell, all the way from Hillsong Kids in South Africa, which I am fascinated to hear from her and just hear what a different experience is ministering to kids on the other side of the world in a very different context than we live in Australia. So this is... if you missed last week's stream, then go back and watch it. Check it out. There was some amazing insight there, especially if you've ever wondered how to do streaming with music on YouTube, or you're live streaming your kids' services. And there are a lot of questions around about copyright and permissions, and are we allowed to do this and what we're not allowed to do. Tim Winkop, who is a lawyer and the manager of Hillsong Music Resources, was able to give a very succinct, clear answer. That's all on this channel. You can check it out. Well, let's get going. We're going to kick this off, first of all, with Jess. All right, Brookie, put Jess up on the screen. There she is. Hi, Jess. We can hear you. We can see you.
Hello. So good to be here.
It's good to have you with us.
Yeah, so good to say hi to Europe and Africa and whoever else might be out there. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And thank you, Dave, for facilitating everything. This is very, very cool. It's so cool to be global, guys. 100%. And I feel like this is our new world. It's a global online world. And I think I just wanted to jump on and say hi. And I know that we're high responsibility kids ministry people, because most kids ministry people are high responsibility and you care so deeply. And in this season of caring about the families, caring about the church, caring about things carrying on, I just want to jump on for a moment and care for you as kids ministry leaders and pastors, because we're pioneering again. And we're pioneering again with no lead time. I don't know about you, Dave, did it feel like everything that we've built for a decade slowly just dismantled and we had to rebuild it?
Pretty much like all the things I've ever learned, I've not needed anymore. So, yay.
No, that's not true. But we kind of need the stuff you learned most. Yes. But we're rebuilding something, and pioneering with lead time is stressful enough. But we're pioneering with no lead time. We didn't get any warning about this. Right. There was no date of this new global thing we're building, and this online thing we're building. So we're pioneering again. So I just wanted to jump on and remind everyone to pioneer and then breathe and then pioneer again, because you need to take care of your headspace in this, in pioneering, and you're going to need a whole different team around you. So we in Hillsong Kids, felt a little weird for a couple of weeks. And then we realized that people's strengths that they normally operate in the great pastoral leader who mentors really well wasn't going to be able to create an online studio. The person who is an incredible people leader who leads, leaders of leaders, they might not know how to present on camera. So you're going to need a whole different team structure. And when you get your head up and you find that team structure and you just kind of like put it all on paper and you reorder it all, you'll feel a lot better. And I feel like that gives your team something to lean into and your team a framework to help you, because let's not forget, we're supposed to do this as a team, but it's a bit weird because we're isolating, but you need to give a structure for team to lead it into. And then I guess the thing that I've just learned is down with perfectionism.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one, especially.
Perfectionism, because like Dave and like Dan, like you guys are good at this stuff. I'm like learning tech, and then mistakes just happen. And they're freaky mistakes. They come out of nowhere. Like YouTube does weird things.
Yep.
That stuff, if you're trying to be a perfectionist, it's gonna hurt. But if you can just be like, down with perfectionism, we're all just having fun here, and kids are in their homes and everyone's learning something new, everybody across the globe, everyone's learning something new, then you feel a lot better when you just are down with perfectionism. And then it all just get to be you and be your culture, because that's what we need to carry to online. We don't need to do what everybody else is doing. We need to be who our kids know us as. We need to be who our families know us as. We need to be our culture. And that's why as Hillsong Kids Australia, we decided that every time an adult service went live, we would be live too, because part of our culture is that rain, hail or shine, holiday, no holiday, apart from like Good Friday, I'm pretty sure, and, you know, Christmas Day, you know, even then we have early childhood programs, we're always on. So we decided we're always on.
Church is church.
We are. So that's how we made our decision, because we decided that we would just be us, but you've got to be you. And only you can be you in this time, and your families and your kids are going to benefit from feeling that, because it's going to be comfortable for them.
Amazing.
Just down with perfectionism, don't try and be like anyone else. And just pioneer this thing the way that is going to work for your children and families. That's what I want to jump on and say and encourage you, because you are, in trying to facilitate this, you're doing an amazing job, and everyone's trying to work stuff out. So you might not be hearing that.
Right.
Me, if you're working at this thing, even if you're making mistakes, you are doing a great job, because you're passionate about your families, and you just need to hear a big thank you, because it took us probably a few weeks to get any kind of feedback, right, Dave? We're like,
100%.
Is this even good?
Yeah.
But now we're starting to get shout outs from Pastor Brian or different parents writing in and telling us it's awesome.
What's crashed? So when did it stop? Okay, a couple of minutes. So we just... I think we're doing good, Jess.
Keep going, and the other one would not.
Yeah, there you go. Hopefully we're back, everybody. I don't know where we left off, but thank you if you're still with us. Hopefully you're still with us, and we're still on Facebook and YouTube. Jess, we're going to keep going, because that's what we do at Hillsong Kids. So let's just finish off that thought about being missionaries. Go for it. Yes,
so I was just saying that I wanted to quote you. I interrupted you rudely, and then I said, I want to quote you because in your book, If Only You Knew, you said basically you're a missionary into a children's world, because their world is very different to our adult world. But then you said you are joining with what Jesus is already doing. And I thought we need to reset, because Jesus is doing something different, because he's not doing it, in the schoolyard anymore. He's doing it in homes. So what does that look like for us? How can we be better facilitating kids, helping kids that are around the dining table with their parents, kids that have more time to carve out either on YouTube or reading their Bible.
Yeah.
It's a different world. And so we need to look for what Jesus is already doing and then complement that and really complement what's happening in the home, because that's what our ministry currently. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it was great. It's just a great plug, Dave.
I love it. I love a great plug. If you want to get hold of If Only You Knew, hillsongstore.com.au. Thanks, Jess. Thank you so much. Check out the podcast on this channel, The Vault. Jess and I and Funny Man Dan are on there. Thank you, Jess, for joining us. We'll be back in a moment with Jeff. The Lord's face is not quite turned towards us at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. The internet is not being happy with us, even though we're the only people in this church building. And the internet should be amazing. But let's keep kicking on. I'm going to be joined by Jeff in about a few seconds' time. Jess McCullough from Jumpstart 3, one of the greatest writers of scripture set to music that I know, I reckon, in the entire world. Jeff, welcome. Let's pop his box up right there. Look at that. Jeff, welcome. You're on.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
So good to have you. Now, Jeff, you're in Nashville right now, so it's early in the morning. But we're gonna get straight into this. Your ministry. Tell you what. Why didn't you explain in the elevator pitch of what you're called to do on this earth?
Oh man. Okay. So my goal is very simple. I want to help people memorize the Word of God so they can evangelize. It's that simple. It's the Great Commission is to go and make disciples. And the best way to make a disciple is people can't do what Jesus did unless they know what Jesus said. So I want people to hide the Word in their heart. We do it using music and motions and family devotions. And so I'm so happy to be here to share about what God's doing literally globally since this pandemic has started.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the opportunities you've seen people using your resources. What are the opportunities people are doing, and how, like, where's the gold? Tell me about it, Jeff.
Well, my job is to travel around the world. I'm a global musicianary. I'm not traveling anywhere right now. I'm sitting in my recording studio. And so when I came home, the first question was like, how do you continue the mission? And so God gave us inspiration to create a new mission. It's a mission trip to your house called the Mission of Hope. And so we did is we set forth a 10-week scripture memory challenge, because I have no idea how long this is going to last, but that seemed like a good goal at first. And what we've done is we've set a new Bible verse out there every week, and we've created devotions for families to use together. One of the things that I think is the most incredible moment that we're seeing is families are discipling their children right now. It seems like that's what the Bible says we're supposed to do, but so often it's very easy to drop your kids off somewhere and have an expert do it. Mm-hmm. And so, but that's, again, our big mission of Jumpstart 3 is to equip families in their homes. We started this ministry because I have 2 kids and I want them to know the Word of God, and I needed to figure out how to teach them. So the Mission of Hope allows families to use our simple tool to figure out how to memorize using motions and lyric videos. They can stream the music, they can stream the motions, super easy to memorize. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the Word of God. So that's what we do, is we sing it. So once you've got it stuck in your head, then we put it into practice. And we actually have an inductive Bible study tool that families can download, do their devotion, and they figure out what the word means. They figure out how to put it into everyday life. And then they figure out a challenge of 3 ways to put it into practice. That's their mission, is to spread hope. And so that's we've seen a response from this week. We had over 1,000 families participating in 5 different countries.
Awesome.
And I mean, in the middle of Africa, in Indonesia, people up in the jungle, people across the U.S., in Australia, So just really excited to see people taking the time. Now, I have not experienced that magic like Coronication free time bubble that people talk about.
Right.
That's not real in my life. My kids have gone from a very heavy. I have a freshman in college and a freshman in high school, and they haven't had any more time. In fact, they have less time trying to figure out how to do everything in real life, trying to finish up school. So, like has been said before, busy work isn't what we're looking to create for families, but we're trying to create those moments where they're taking the word and figuring out, man, how do we digest what's going on? Romans 5 has been just an incredible source that this whole last year. And I just want to read just a short quote from Romans 5. In verse 3, it says, not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. The reality is this: we can't develop hope unless we have character, and that character comes from suffering. And this is that amazing time where, as people of God, we get to process things different than the world, who's afraid or complaining or however you want to look at it. And we go, wow, the Lord can use every situation. And in order to get to hope, it's just so amazing. You think of it, God takes the sufferings that are going on in our lives and uses them to produce endurance. Now, the greatest gift that we can give to our children, to our neighbors, our greatest opportunity to evangelize right now is truly to be able to pass hope on to someone. And we can't have hope unless we've endured those struggles, those trials, and God allows us to live through those. I've told my kids for years, you don't get courage and you don't have hope when you go into a situation for the first time. So many things are scary to kids, even to adults, when you do it for the first time, but God allows you to live through it, to survive it. And then you can tell somebody, what did God do? God will get you through. He got me through. Now you have a testimony. That's where that power comes through. And when God gives you that testimony, the survivors of this season are going to be able to give hope to the next generation in a way that we've never done it. So really just helping people understand that God knows what's going on. He's still in control, and he's going to use it for his will. So really helping people to find hope from his word. So we've curated 10 verses this week. It's Deuteronomy 31:6. Super excited. Be strong and courageous, and do not be afraid or terrified because of them. For the Lord your God goes with you. He'll never leave you or forsake you.
I love it.
Yeah,
that's a good verse.
Yeah, my favorite part is we've invited people to make videos, and we're doing a video contest. So if you go to jumpstart3.com/mission of hope, you can actually see videos from around the world and vote on them. And so it's been amazing to see the creativity. Some families are doing it, some kids. We've had a whole orphanage in Africa this week send us a video, a 10-year-old in Buenos Aires. I mean, it's really amazing just to watch people interacting with the word.
Amazing. So. Jeff, sounds very exciting. I feel like you've answered my little final question that we ask everybody, which is, it's kind of like, what is good is going to come out of this? You've talked about discipleship happening more than ever. You've talked about the idea of hope. And that's really what this season can give us an opportunity to give people. So thanks so much, Bud, for joining us. It is fantastic to have you with us. Thanks so much for getting out of bed. Any parting thought? That idea of for you is, in a year's time, what is the one thing you look back on and go, well, that's something good that came out of this?
Yeah, I think in looking at what does church look like moving forward, we're going to have a season where people are going to experience multi-gen ministry.
Right.
Kids are going to be with parents. And because children's ministry, which is our life, is going to look very different. Children don't know how to social distance right now.
Right.
And I think what I've heard it said so eloquently once, that anybody can teach an adult, but if you explain something as to a child, that adults actually might understand. And so as we do a lot of multi-gen services as a ministry traveling around, and I'm going to see what's happening in a year from now. We're going to see people introducing elements to teach the children that are in the room with them and we're going to see adults learning things for the first time because it's been explained in a simple way.
Perfect.
And in a creative way. So I'm really excited to see how the family is going to be brought back together in the church house, and how that is going to allow for just closer family ties. That's the biggest blessing of this season, is just being together.
Brilliant. Hey, thanks, Jeff, so much for coming in. You're a real blessing. And we're going to leave right now. Let's play that little video that Jeff has given us just to explain what he's doing. Maybe you get some insight and some ideas from this. We'll be back after this.
I'm going on a mission to my house. Now dancing, singing, share God's love. Now listen to me shout.
Are you stuck inside? Does your family look like this? Join Jumpstart 3 on a mission of hope, a mission to your house. Use music, motions, and family devotions, and your family could look like this. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you use music and word-for-word scripture combined with American Sign Language to worship God. Each week, go to jumpstart3.com/mission of hope to find a new song, coloring page, devotion, everything you need to do to memorize God's word and put it into practice.
I'm going on a mission to my house. Now dancing, singing, share God's love. Now listen to me shout.
Welcome back. We've had some technological upgrades, and we've had some host upgrades. Huh? Yeah, it's me, Funny Man Dan. David Wakely's out, I'm in, just because this next guest is a personal friend of mine. I am a huge fan of him. Alex Blythe. He is our kids pastor in central London campus, but also does work all throughout the UK and a little bit through Europe. The dude's awesome. He's doing some amazing stuff with Hillsong Kids online in the UK, and they're a bit locked down there, so I'm interested to see how he's coping with everything. Alex, you there?
Mate, I'm here. Lockdown has got me going crazy. I'll wear anything. My hair's grown. Madness. Nah, I'm being stupid. But that's it.
Wow. Oh,
we're back.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You got the signature beanie
That's
on.
fine.
You've got the HSK logo behind you. Yeah. You're looking cool,
That's
man.
it.
You're looking really
Thanks,
good.
I try. Actually, well, I've got to say, it is just because we're just about to jump on a live in a little while. So that is why I've got it all. It's not that we're really flash and really cool. We are, but I don't like to be too flash or too cool, you know?
Right. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's awesome. Exciting. You're doing live streams. You're doing weekend videos, which is great. But I wanted to actually chat about. You obviously lead a very large ministry in the UK. I want to chat to you about during this time. What would you be top 3 leadership principles you see as absolutely crucial during this unique time?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I should say I have inherited a lot. I've only been in kids ministry for 5 years. So I'm still a baby. So whatever I say, please do not think that I know all the stuff, because I'm still learning so much. But through the season, we have learned, we've learned so many different elements. And I'll tell you my top 3 things is first, keep your team engaged.
Right.
It is so much still about team, because it would be easy for team just to sit back as they got to stay at home and then do nothing, which means they've got no buy-in. It means they've got no, they're not doing anything to help grow the kids or anything like that. But So they need to stay engaged. And yes, of course, that is easier said than done. My leader, Dan Watson, he says, we need to make sure team have got skin in the game, which basically means they're giving something so that they buy in. And what we want our team to do is we still want them to buy in this season, even though they're not face-to-face with the kids. So that means every week we're still doing weekly calls with all of our teams. One of the things across our locations, I said to our leaders, like, when are you doing your calls? I mean, Zoom is the biggest one at the moment. You know,
Yep.
I wish I'd got
Shares.
stocks and shares in Zoom, because that is blown up. Yeah, Zoom is probably one of the biggest blessings. So every week I still have a leadership Zoom where we just chat, how we're doing, how's our team. I make sure that they also have a Zoom, and then their leaders under them with their team, just so everyone's connected. They look different. Some of which is they do quizzes each week. Some do like some have done like fancy dress up for their kind of catch ups, and we just got to make sure that there's still relationship and that teams still get buy-in, but they need to be doing stuff. And so number one for us is that they make the calls. They contact the kids. For us, we would have loved this always to be the case, but it hasn't really been with our team. But recently, we've really seen teams step up, and we've said, hey, you need to contact your kids every week, minimum every 2 weeks. And so they've been doing that, and the feedback has been incredible. Team have probably got more buy-in now than they maybe did before.
That's great.
Because they're actually discipling the kids. They're going further. And I know Andy Kirk mentioned that last week about making the calls, but it's a simple thing, but it gets team do it, getting their skin in the game and being engaged. Also, been getting team helping with the social media stuff, getting them to kind of think about devotionals, all these other things that are like, reminds them that they're still involved in kids ministry.
Yeah.
It's not just about me just doing everything, because I mean, I tried that for the first week and it was a disaster. So it's key to make sure that your team are still involved. Number two, I'd say keep it fun.
Yep.
So wearing a wig, doing dress ups with your calls, whatever. Rach, my wife, she's the funny one out of the two of us. But every week on Wednesdays and Friday mornings, we do HSK Live, which is basically us going head to head, and it's all about fun and games. It's just silliness, playing challenges, whatever. There's no like biblical message in there apart from us just trying to love on kids and just be fun. And we want our kids to have fun. And actually the feedback we've got from parents is like, they love it, because for that 30 minutes on those 2 days, as a family, they can sit around, they watch, and they just laugh. They just see us being silly and stupid. And so we've got to make sure we can keep it fun in this season, or everything is going to be like just so down. It's going to be so like, oh, COVID this, COVID that, oh, we can't go out. Everything could be really negative. But I think as kids leaders, we need to bring the fun. We need to bring the silliness, you know, and I think that's probably one of the key things, is keeping it fun. And even with your team, as I said, like quizzes, fancy dress Zooms, like it's silly, but it's fun. It's those memorable moments.
I love it.
And then I'd also say, thirdly, it would be keep it simple. This has got to take us back to basics of actually what discipleship really looks like.
Right.
I know it's been mentioned already, but we need to make sure that, because first and foremost, at the beginning of the church, they probably just met first. I met you. Oh, you follow Jesus? Great. You meet me. Let's talk about that. And then it grows and all that kind of thing. So I actually think this season could be one of the biggest blessings wrapped in the horribleness of what it is. But just to really take us back to basics in actually what do we stand for? What are we looking at? And actually just really making it simple, because for all of our team and myself, like I still make family calls. I call up all the team, but that is the basic. And I think sometimes we get too mixed up in content and trying to just put on a thing on Sunday that actually we've kind of got this thing in over here, which is like cruise and content. So cruise is like our tribes, our kids groups, our relational thing with our kids and our teams. Then there's like content. Well, we don't need everyone to create content, but we do need everyone to look at cruise and look at relationships. And so I think this season is really just keeping it simple, taking it back to basics, and just remembering that it's about walking over watching. So at the moment, like we still can, although we might not be able to face-to-face walk with kids on their relationship or walk with our team face-to-face, we can still walk with them on the journey of their relationship with God. And rather than just getting them just to watch something, to watch, that's the easy stuff. Obviously not to produce it, that's not so easy, but we got to make sure we're still walking rather than just getting them to watch, because that is the relationship, that's the connection. Jesus always walked, he was always on a journey with them. So we've got to make sure that we're doing that with our kids. So
wow,
keep them engaged, keep it fun, keep it simple, and actually just final little thought, just with phone calls, I'd say always top and tail it with prayer. So like 5 minutes before the call, you have a moment to say, God, speak to me right now. I pray that you give me wisdom. I pray that you give me just insight to be able to invest and love and speak life into this family. Call them up. Hey, how's it going? Mum, dad, whoever it is, guardian. Just love them. Just tell them how good they're doing, and just listen to the parent, and then say, hey, do you mind if I have a chat with little Jimmy? I just want to say hello. And in that moment, God may have given you a verse, he may have given you a scripture, and you can just tell him to hold tight, you know, just like, hey, keep going, or just be fun, just talk nothingness, talk about what they're into. And just so that moment is, I'm being discipled. And then you say, great, thanks, speak to you soon, love you, bye. And then tail it with prayer as well. Say, God, I pray that those words, whatever's just happened in that time, that you bless it, that you be with him. And whatever the kid or the parent may have mentioned, it might be that they're going through financial issues, it might be that they're really struggling. That's then when you lift up to God, say, God, I give that call to you, and I give that family to you. And so we've got to top and tail everything with prayer. We've got to make sure that we're still being Christ-centered disciplers, or we could just get mixed up with all the stuff and the craziness and the chat and all that kind of thing. Someone, actually just last night, Jo Watson, she's Dan Watson's wife, she said, we're not all in the same boat, but we're in the same sea.
Right.
So we're all going through this COVID thing. There's waves, there's storms, whatever. Someone might be on a huge ship and it might not be battering them at all, but someone might be in a tiny little dinghy. But we've got to remember, we're all in the same sea, but we've got to help people who are going through the different elements, and they might be in a different boat which has less resource. Even kids ministries, you guys, you might be in a very different setup. I know this one looks very glamorous here with a green screen and things and lights, whatever, but you're just in a different boat. But we are going through the same storm, and so there's no point looking at, look at that big boat. Like, your job as maybe a smaller church kids leader is to do the simple things. You can still do relationship. That is regardless of what boat you're in. You can still contact kids. You can still engage your team. All of that stuff. That is, without looking at the resources of what's around, there I think the keys of what we can do. And so just remember, we're all in the same sea. We're all going through the same storm. But actually, yes, it may look different for different people. And utilize other people, utilize resources, all that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. Just nuggets everywhere. Yeah. Just dropping nuggets. Nugget sandwich. Look, we've got to wrap this up.
Chicken nugget. Yeah,
chicken nugget sandwich. We've got to wrap this up, but in just 30 seconds, I just want to ask you, what is one thing you're actually looking forward to coming out of this season, like a new normal that you're looking forward to? Yeah.
I'm thinking going back to basics. I want, Gary always says, hit refresh. Over the season, we're hitting refresh. We've got no conferences. So that means we can think, right, how are we going to grow Sundays? I'm believing there's going to be growth. I believe that the kids we're going to contact may not have been at church over the last 6 months, but they're now going to come back because there is contact. So I'm thinking, why not? Why does this have to be a decline? Why not an increase? Let's just disciple. Let's get back to basics. Let's just go big or go home. I am home. We are home.
Awesome.
Don't go home.
Well, I'm going to finish the rest of the stream. Then I'm going to go home. Thank you, Alex. That was wonderful. Always great to see you. And, super inspiring stuff. Now, I'm not allowed to stay in this seat for very much longer because, Dave just needs to host. That's what he needs to do. He's going to come back with Simon Parry, which is going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to hearing some of the innovations he's coming up with. And we'll be doing some shout-outs and some questions from you. Stick around.
We are back. We're still going strong. Thank you, Dan and Alex Blythe from Hillsong in London there. Coming up right now, we're joined by Simon Parry, one of the... Well, let's put it this way. There's only a few of us around, people who write music for kids to worship to, and Simon Parry is one of the best of them. So, Simon, welcome to the stream. Is he there?
Thanks, mate.
The
Am
box
I here?
is there. You're there. You're on screen.
I'm in the box.
You're in the box, my friend.
Mate, it feels like the Eurovision Song Contest in a box up here.
Okay. Right. I hear you.
London calling.
London calling. I love it.
Yeah.
Australia's in that now by some quirk of fate. We love Eurovision down here. Simon Parry, why don't you quickly explain? There's a lot that you've got going on. So what is it that you do? And also maybe just talk about the church context you're working in, what denomination, and talk us about that, because I don't think I've ever really talked about that at all. So go for it.
Sure. So church-wise, kind of been part of everything over the years. So Anglican, did loads in the Vineyard movement. So when I first got into kids worship, I was involved with Vineyard. So lots of the Great Big God stuff, and as a kids pastor there. Then part of New Wine churches. That's a whole different stream. Mm-hmm. And more recently, kind of an independent evangelical church. So that's a lot smaller, which is also kind of fun, challenging, and brings, different challenges. So I've kind of been around a bit really in terms of church. Yeah. Which I think is what's imparted to me. I love the fact of unity amongst denominations and different streams, and which is a big deal for me in kids ministry. And in terms of what I do, so have been a kids pastor 20 years, and in the last 7 years we launched All Stars Kids Club, which is kind of a Christian kids media ministry thing.
Conglomerate. International.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have. Do you have sticks of rock in Australia? On the beach. Do you have with writing in the middle? Do you guys have that? Maybe it's a weird Brit thing. But we have basically this solid candy in the UK that you have on seaside resorts. Right. And inside it says the name of the town. It's super bad for you and tacky.
No, I've never heard of that.
But
before.
If I was a stick of rock, if I was one of those, it would say kids worship inside me. Gotcha. So for me, that's my heart, and always has been since the age of 13. Is to write songs and be part of enabling kids to worship Jesus through song. So that's been at the core of this. And over the years, we've had a play at making kids TV content, magazines, road shows, events, and now obviously in this lockdown, anything's game. Like, what else can we make and do from a garage?
Amazing.
So that's kind of it, really. Yeah. And the key part of that is partnering with others and working with as many people as possible to reach kids. Well,
you're a man of your time. You're the guy that is I think this era in church life was made for people like you, because you're the guy that kind of does every part of it. Like what we've talked about before is YouTube is, over the last 10 years, has grown into this platform where these individual creators can create something looking very fantastic, very professional. And the last little season, we've seen a lot of late night television shows come onto YouTube, and they're awful. They have no idea what they're doing, and the excellence isn't there. So you literally have, you're the guy that I feel like has, you're nimble, you're quick, you can turn on a dime and try something new. So that's the way I see you. So here's the question for you is, all the stuff that you make, all the stuff that we make, let me just... Keep that chat going on, everybody. We'll do some questions after this. Everything that you make, the mission is to get it in front of people's eyeballs, get them to see it. So I want all these people watching this, pastors watching this, maybe doing stuff and making stuff for their kids. What are the strategies to get that to the eyeballs and not let it slip into the big black void of YouTube, of nothingness? Yeah.
Well, for me, I kind of have... not an issue. We use YouTube all the time at home as kids.
Right.
Maybe I'm a kid, but as a family. But I'm also aware of the dangers of YouTube and social media, and most of them are 13 plus, so your 8-year-olds shouldn't be on there on their own anyway.
Yes.
There's all that kinds of stuff, which I know makes it difficult when you're a church and you want to release content, and where do you send people to watch it and access it, and how do you distribute it? So it is a massive question. So for me and our ministry, and having partnered with lots of churches over the last few months, is that, you know, we've launched an app that we're kind of excited about. It's completely free, and it's full of content from all over the world, and it's on all different platforms and stuff, and you can watch it on the website, on your iPhone, Apple TV, Amazon, all those kind of things. But the heart behind that was to have a platform that's safe, secure, that doesn't have adverts, that's completely free, that you can access anywhere and not worry about what your kid's going to watch.
Yes.
So as a resource and a strategy for us as a ministry, that's been something on my heart for about 3 years. And when you talk to companies, as I'm sure you're aware, Dave, like, how big's your budget? How much do you want to spend on this? And it's like, well, I could give you kind of a percent of that budget, you know, in terms of, you know, big players. And if you want to have all singing, all dancing online, you know, platform. But we stepped out in faith in November. We felt God say this was the time to do it. I had just come back from the Kidmin MegaCon conference in October and got challenged there. I'm like, okay, Lord, we have no money. We're living by faith. The ministry runs by faith. Let's do this. How do you launch an online platform? Anyway, we found a company in the US who had it built. And I'm signing stuff kind of like, Lord, you need to back this up because we don't have the funds. Anyway, flash forward to the new year. We launched this thing, not knowing, of course, that we're going to have this crazy lockdown. And it's been super fun, man. It's been hugely challenging, but to be able to, you know, partner with churches and ministries of all different streams and sizes, to say, you know, yes, put your stuff out however you can, but there's also this platform that we'd love you to partner with and be part of to get content out to kids and families in their homes that's, you know, that is safe, that there's no weird links after a video or recommended videos or some perfume advert that pops up that's not appropriate. And that's not to say, you know, don't do stuff on YouTube. Absolutely, it's there. But for us as a ministry and for me, you know, a resource we've put a lot of effort into is this app that, and it's going to, we'll hope,
Love it.
I'm excited, like, what's it going to look like?
Amazing. It's a big deal. We've done a similar thing with our curriculum, launched an app, and it's a very big journey. And so getting and it is a tricky path to follow. So maybe just talk into a little bit here about the one advantage that YouTube has is that everybody in the world knows YouTube. So talk to me, how are you steering people? I guess it's awareness. What is it, marketing? How do you make people aware of it, or even parents to trust the app? I don't know. Talk me through that process.
Trust what, YouTube, or trust?
Oh no. That's the challenge, is making people aware of other platforms, because it's almost like YouTube is just almost the word it is for online video. So it's
like Google. You Google everything. That's just part of our you know, culture. Absolutely, and that is the challenge, because, you know, as a small ministry, you know, marketing budgets are pretty non-existent. So relying obviously on social media, and obviously for that it's parents or kids leaders that are actually, you know, engaging with that. So it is a challenge. It is a massive challenge. You know, for me, it's the encouragement, the emails you get every so often when people say, "We've just found this app. Thank you so much." And it is a challenge. I mean, it's the same with releasing new music, and how do you get it out to the families and the kids? And in this season where churches aren't meeting, I remember, you know, I've spoke to several people before about, you know, the VeggieTale thing. You know, the fact that they cracked the home market.
They really did.
They solved that. The parents would go into a store and buy VeggieTale's VHS back in the day and take it home. And for me, you know, that is a challenge. But I think I'm excited. How do we, you know, times are different now, but how do we get to the point where families know where to go to access content for their kids that's fun and faith-filled, that maybe their kid's pastor doesn't know about or doesn't stream through their church? So if you have an answer, I'd love to know.
I think it is the big question, and it's almost like in pastoring, the big question is, how do you get the church into the home? And I feel like it's sometimes with what you're trying to do is, how do you get this content? Because the home is where it is, like, as we've discovered right now, everybody's at home. And so look, it's a great opportunity. So definitely, if you check out All Stars Kids Club. My last question we're asking everybody, Mr. Simon Parry, is what are the things coming out of this when we all get to go back to church together? What are the positive things you can see coming out of this?
The thing I'm most excited about from this season, and this is as a dad, as a kids pastor, and as someone who produces content, is I'm so excited at having seen the creativity that has come out of churches.
Right.
In this season, small churches you've never heard of, people you've never heard of, but seeing, and not just the content, but just the fact that people are stepping out of writing songs, writing dramas, writing sketches, writing teaching, because they have to. Mm-hmm. And for me, for so long, there's just been like you said, there's not a load of people writing kids worship. There's not a load of people creating kids content. And I'm excited that out of this season that we might see, and I'm not just talking about albums and stuff, but the churches will have new content birthed out of their churches, because the kids leaders and kids teams have been empowered, have been released, and to be honest, have to make stuff for their kids. And I'm excited at seeing what fruit we'll see from this season, from all the different churches, all the different streams, and I'm excited. That excites me.
Amazing. We've got our next speaker here coming up. Give us one moment. Hey, Keith, we're going to come back to you in a moment. Now, listen, let's go. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Simon Parry.
Thank you.
It has been amazing to have you on with us today. And we will, if you want to check out what Simon's doing, All Stars Kids Club, check it out. We're going to be back in a moment with our next guest, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, Funny Man Dan here. And before I get into my next guest, I'm going to give some shout outs. We've got some amazing people on Facebook. The Clemensons. Hi! Clemensons used to do ministry with Dave and I back in the day. They're in Dunedin, New Zealand. We've got Lucinda Valentine says, great to see you, Alex. Big fan of Alex Blythe. How good was he? Rachel Rogers says, love from the multi-gen encouragement. Amazing. Ryan Lee Warner has been, when we had our technical difficulties, he was on there and he was asking questions of people and making it awesome in the comment section. So hi to you. Jonty Tay from Hillsong Guildford, UK. Good day, mate. You good, word? Ryan, Connie, Denica, Emily, Rachel, Stephen, George, Randall. You guys are all awesome. But our next guest, Keith. A guy called Keith here. No, it's Keith. Big welcome to Keith Reid from Audacious Church. A friend of mine I met through Alex about a year or so ago is doing amazing things. He is the face of the Blackpool ads bringing tourism into Blackpool. But he also runs an amazing kids ministry and has recently transitioned to online services, as all of us have done. And he's doing an amazing job. Please welcome Keith. Hello.
Greetings from sunny England. I'm here with my cup of tea. To be quintessentially English.
When is the last time you saw sun?
Do you know what? It has genuinely been very, very hot.
Really?
And then yesterday it turned and it is back to rainy, traditional England.
Great. I love that your definition of very, very hot is 10 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit.
No, honestly, there's like beads of sweat and all sorts. It was
wow. That's amazing. Look, Keith, a lot of people obviously have had to transition the last 5 weeks to moving on to an online church and doing kids ministry online. I've seen that you're doing it great. So I wanted to know from you've got a bit of a media background yourself, but in that, what would you say 3 lessons you've learnt from your experience that can help encourage other people?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a strange one because, as Alex was saying before, everyone's in different boats. There's so many, different countries have got different lockdown parameters and different home situations. For us, we have 3 kids at home. So we've had to become teachers and do homeschooling, which is a new skill to work on, which is great. And we have got to figure out kind of what our church needs. And so I guess my first point that we discovered real quick is that connection is king.
Right.
And sometimes you can feel like quality needs to be king. I know Jess was saying earlier, like down with perfectionism. I don't know if that feels difficult to say. But we discovered real quick that connection is king. And when it comes to your online content and the stuff that you are putting out to your kids, to your church, what they want is not the polished article. What they want is connection with their pastors, with their leaders, with the people that have been investing in them over time, for the people that they go to,
right.
for the people that they often find security from and find God's truth from, and they want that connection. And so regardless of what kind of your desire is or your experience is in media or creating content, there is millions of hours of content out there that will be better than what I can make. But what my kids need is connection. And so it's just a season where even if you are a perfectionist normally and you pride yourself on how perfect this is, or, the curriculum you create or the content that you create, but right now what your kids need is connection.
That's great.
And we want to maintain that connection. And quality can still be important and further down the line. And obviously we want to do the best job that we can, but it's not the boss. It's not what's most important. Your kids need connection with you and they need connection with God. We're trying to create content that can facilitate that.
What I love about that is you'd probably find a bunch of kids pastors in a situation where they don't feel like their gifting is in front of the camera and they're not the most... They've got these other people in ministry who will put you in front of the camera, which is great and help them carry the service. But no, definitely put yourself in front of a camera. If you're the kids pastor, it doesn't matter if you're not the most polished or not the most charismatic person on a screen, but kids want to connect with you. You're there for reasons. That's an excellent point.
And the feedback that we get mostly is not, oh, wow, I loved your green screen, or, oh, wow, that smooth edit transition was just, I'm like, the kids are like, it's Pastor Keith, it's Pastor Sarah, no way, they're on my telly. And, being able to share truth with them in a similar way to what they've experienced before is a massive part of normality for them, and helping them ground, this mad stuff that's happening. They're able to go, oh, God is still the same, and I can access him through my pastors and my kids leaders. And that's really important for them to have that consistency of, even though, someone else is now their teacher and, everything's gone a bit weird, getting your face out there is really important. So even if you have someone else in your ministry who's dead funny, and they'll be really good at doing that game, and I'll be a bit stiff. Make sure that you top and tail it, and you intro the game, and you get your face out there. You let them know that you love them, that you're praying for them, that everything is okay, and you know God's still the same, and we're still going to dig into His truth, and let the funny person or the guy who's good at media do their slot, and then you get on the back of it and pray for them and make sure that you are connecting, because connection is king.
Love it. All right, what else? Tip 2.
Okay, my second one, I'm trying to keep all the C's going, is that comparison is a killer.
Oh, very good.
You like that, don't you?
Yeah, that's
I know.
great.
I know killer doesn't begin with C, but comparison is a killer, and it is a pointless waste of time. I know as soon as we went into lockdown, I was like, right, I need to get out there and see what everyone's doing. And I had some kind of 24-hour, 36-hour comatose where I was just watching as many kids services out there as I can to think, right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I kind of had this realization that actually comparing to what everybody else is doing is counterproductive, because everyone's in a different boat. I love that analogy what Alex said. Everyone's in a different boat. And if connection is king, then comparing what you're doing to other people and trying to think, well, they've got a green screen and I haven't, so that means this, and I can't do this if I've not got a green screen, or I can't do that, or I can't do this. Actually, what your kids need is for you to be yourself.
Yeah.
To be you. And if all of a sudden we go into lockdown and your kids ministry has a brain transplant, and because of what you're watching online or what you're seeing elsewhere, you're like, oh, I'm just going to try and do this, and you know, this church is doing that, and this channel is doing that. So all of a sudden, your kids don't even recognize you. What they want,
very good.
Is you. What they want is you that's been praying for them for however many years, that's been invested in them, that has welcomed them into your kids' ministry 3 years ago, and they want you. And so comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing is pointless. By all means, let's, you know, share ideas and get stuff. But if you get stuck in that wormhole of comparison, you won't produce your best stuff, and the kids won't get the you that they need. So you just have to be comfortable in being yourself. You know, we don't have a studio at our house. We've got 3 kids that are homeschooling, all the different ages, that all need different stuff. And so what I can put out there is within the parameters of my boat. So I'm not going to be upset about what I can't do.
Yep.
I'm going to focus on what I can do, and I'm going to do my best. And we've had great feedback. You know, we don't have a studio, we don't have expensive cameras, but we are putting out audacious kids to our kids, and the best feedback we've got is the kids feel fed back. It feels like Sunday.
That's
and
great.
That is the result for me. The kids feel like it's Sunday. They feel like they're connecting with God. Even though in a different situation, they still have that familiar feeling of connecting with God on a Sunday. And also the parents is like, oh, wow, what you do is really good. And which is an awesome privilege, because they don't get to be in kids church every week, but now they get to see what's going on. So it's great to have that that kind of feedback. And so tip number 2, don't let comparison kill you.
Amazing. C number 3.
Oh, I was scraping the barrel.
Well, 2's good.
No, I got 3. It's just a CH, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, sure.
As I was going to say, champion your capacity.
All right, sure.
Just kind of following on from the last point, really, like what you've got and who you've got for you is your biggest resource. Your team and the people you've got. Like, I can't spend, you know, time wishing that I could send my kids off to boarding school so I had more time to film. Like, This is my capacity. This is what I've got.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of backdrop envy. All the rest of the guys had green screen stuff up, but I'm in my living room. But, you know, I'm in homeschooling mode right now. If you just, you know, my green screen is...
there it is.
It's hung up. It's, that's, you know, we green screen in our dining room and our school hall. So, you know, but this is our capacity that God has given us. I'm not going to focus on what we've not got. I'm going to champion what we have.
Very
you know, God, I have one amazing editor who is volunteering to do all our editing, and he is phenomenal. Like, but that's our crew. Me and my wife Sarah and our editor is you know, we're putting the content together. But I'm not going to, again, begrudge what crew I've not got, or I've not got a studio, I've not got this. I'm going to champion my capacity. God has put these things into place where we can produce what we're doing. And my team, you know, they're doing amazing. We've got a team that are producing content. We do a service on a Sunday, and then we do a little 5-minute video in the morning, Monday to Friday. So my team are shooting in their home, in their garden, and they're doing their bit, and they're doing a phenomenal job. And connection is king. Yeah. So if the content isn't, you know, what you would get on CBeebies, then like, surprise, surprise. But actually, content connection is king.
Love it.
So championing the content that we've got and the capacity that we've got, the leaders that can do this, the team that can do that, getting all my kids leaders into pastoral calls, making sure every kid is contacted, doing Zoom calls. That's something we can do. So we have Zoom call life groups for the kids to connect with, so they can see each other's faces as well, and that connection is stronger. Like, what you can do is amazing.
I love it.
And yeah, a bit like Simon was just saying, it's amazing what creativity is coming out.
Yeah.
And spend your time championing the capacity you do have, not wishing for capacity that you don't have.
I love it. Champion the capacity, not content. Connection is king. And comparison is a chiller. See, I just.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay, thanks so much for joining us. That was awesome. Lots of new nuggets. Praying for you guys, and we're excited. We're wrapping this thing up. We've had a lot of questions here about some really unique challenges that people are facing around the globe. So we're actually bringing on Taryn, who is from Hillsong Kids South Africa, and she's going to give us another perspective of ministry in a completely different continent, facing challenges that we wouldn't even think of, and the creativity they're putting through that. So thank you, Keith, and we're back soon with Taryn!
Okay, here we go. Final guest of the evening is about to join us, Taryn Mundell from South Africa, Hillsong, South Africa. She was with us in Australia for many, many years. She cut her teeth in Sydney, and now she's cutting even more teeth in South Africa. It's not even a saying. Doesn't make any sense. But I do want to say hi to the Clemensons. So good to have you on the stream. Again, a team, people watching from, known from a long time ago. I'm surprised you're still living in New Zealand. When I got to Australia, I said, I got to the promised land. I'm not going anywhere else. But you guys, your promised land is New Zealand. Now listen, Taryn, we're going to get it straight on here. I'm going to just talk a little bit about it, the challenges of doing ministry and potentially in a different context. So, ladies and gentlemen, Taryn Mundell in a box over my shoulder. There it is. Hi, Taryn.
Hey, Dave. How you going?
Very good. How is your internet, by the way? You froze a minute there for a moment, but is it good? Am I good?
My what? My?
Your internet.
Yeah.
The picture's good? Okay, great. Okay, Taryn, let's talk about this. You have Hillsong in Cape Town, but you've got a lot of locations, campuses in very, very different areas of South Africa. So we've all been waffling on about online and streaming and all this kind of stuff. Just give us a bit of insight into what you're doing and what we're doing in Hillsong, South Africa.
That's true, Dave. We have 9 locations across South Africa, and then we also stream up into Nairobi, Kenya. So it's very, very exciting times. But yeah, we have many very different locations. Some of our locations are set in the CBD, or and other locations are in a township or a lower income group. So we've had to, obviously there was no, you could say there was no warning of what was going to happen. And so we just had to also scramble, I think just like many other people, trying to find content and to see how we could get our message out and how we could continue with Hillsong Kids, even though everything was looking a little bit different and we weren't able to meet together. So some of the things that we've done is we do a service, an online service, and that loads at 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning, and then families can hop on anytime to watch the service. And what we've done is we've taken some of our local team, and we have filmed with them. In the beginning, we were able to film 4 weeks at church, so we had like great equipment and a great setup. And now we are actually filming from our homes, from our phones, and doing Zoom meetings. So our presenters are, presenting via Zoom, and we record it and then we send it up. But yeah, we've learned heaps of things on how to engage or try and actually, get to communicate with our families through this. So our services run on Sunday. Parents can hop online and they can watch with their kids. So we encourage them, hey, you can watch with your kids, and then you can go to the next service. So I think we stream 4 and 2. So we stream 6 services on a Sunday. So there's many options, but then it is up on YouTube for families to watch. We have found that some of our locations do struggle with data issues. And I know Ryan asked a question a little earlier about data, and for us in South Africa, it is a real problem. Data is a struggle.
Right.
But what we've done is at our location, for those people who cannot stream or jump online, our amazing film team have compressed some of the local filming that we've done, because we're still using big curriculum, which is awesome, because our kids, that's the curriculum we use on Sundays. So our kids they love Funny Man Dan, they love the big crew and heading across to big HQ. So it's been awesome for us to be able to keep that going for our kids. So the familiar faces and that. But then what we've done is we filmed some of our local team so that the kids can get a little bit of a South African, I guess, vibe.
Yeah.
With nice South African accents, and then they feel like this is made for them as well. So what we've done for those families who maybe don't have access to much data, or they find it's coming to the end of the month and they've used up most of their data, is our film team have compressed the videos, and then we send them out on a Sunday morning as WhatsApps. So we send out 3 different WhatsApps, which has the different elements of the service. So there's still a praise and worship song. then it's somebody on our team who wraps up the whole big message. And then we always end off with like a little YouTube of Funny Man Dan because the kids demand it.
Awesome. Well, that's a really interesting, I like that idea of the WhatsApp. So making the files as small as possible. It's a technical solution to the problem. I was watching a video on Cuba a few years ago before they kind of opened up to the West a little bit. The internet was terrible in Cuba. So there was this entire underground industry where people would copy, people who could afford it would be downloading all of the television shows from the United States, and then they would have these hard drives passed around in these well-organized web of users who are all connected somehow via phones or something. And so every week you'd get a hard drive with all the TV content from the previous week, and you would just watch all the shows that you were interested in. So a classic way of using technology to get around the problem. So I love that maybe you're not quite underground and as black market as that, but you're using the same idea. Oh, and I just love that.
We try not to be.
No, it's not good. It's not good to be. Yeah, you're not putting episodes of America's Got Talent on there. It's just our content. But I love that idea. Is there's always a way around it. There's always a technical solution to a lot of these problems that we're having. So. Yeah. It's a great start. That's a really, really good start. Now, talk about some of the pastoring side of what you're doing in South Africa. I'd love to hear about. For us, we've talked about dropping off gifts. I know my son, our youth pastor, dropped around a gift for our teenager today. What are the midweek challenges or the midweek opportunities you're seeing in pastoring?
Yeah. So for us in South Africa, our lockdown is really strict. We're not allowed to go out unless you're going to the shop or you're going to the doctor, or unless you're part of essential services. So we've literally been stuck in our homes or our flats for, I think we're on day 33 now. Right. And so we haven't been able to go out. We haven't been able to go to church to, do things at church or film there or anything. So we have had to think about how do we reach, how are we engaging and connecting with our Hillsong Kids crew, because obviously we want to keep connecting with them. And so Hillsong South Africa as a church has made it like they've committed to calling everybody in our database. Right. So I think at the moment we're on 16,000 calls have been made in the last 4 or 5 weeks to all our families, to from the youngest all the way through to the oldest. And then our kids team are also calling those families. And so sometimes those are repeat calls, they get a double up, but it's just to go check in on the family. How's the kids doing? Finding out how they're going. So I think the key in this season midweek is actually connecting with our families via a phone call, and the parents really appreciate it. The parents are like, oh wow, you're just phoning just to find out how Bobby's doing, and we're like, yeah, how's he going and what's up, and then it also gives us an opportunity to find out from the parents. Do you have access to the internet? Do you have access to our services? And then we encourage them, hey, look, we've got an Instagram account and we've got Facebook. And so we're trying to use a lot of the online media to connect with our kids in this midweek. But, it's a lot easier for some locations to have a Zoom afternoon and get the kids online than it is for some of our kids who maybe live in a township. So for them, then it's a WhatsApp message, or it's the local team following them up and just seeing how they're going.
Wonderful.
But we're also trying to use our online platforms like Instagram. So with that, we've done and every week we kind of add something new. And, sometimes it goes wrong and sometimes we can't do it. But every week we try and add like a new element to what we're offering our families. So last week we started filming voltage videos. So specifically for our voltage age kids, our grade 5 and 6s. Yep. Yeah. And then what we would do is start off with like just a little intro and then play a game with a couple of kids that we've invited on Zoom. And then after that, one of our great leaders will then spend like 3 to 5 minutes just doing an encouraging word, especially aimed at our voltage kids, asking them, how they're going. And then also we put a little form stack and ask them to fill in those details so that we can contact them midweek and give them a call if we don't have their details.
Right. So it's exactly lots of technological solutions there, forms, information. Love it. Fantastic. Okay. Taryn, that's fantastic. Now, the one question we leave everybody with is, What is the one thing you're excited about coming out of this? What is the new normal? What is, when we all get to go back to church together, what is the positive outcome from all this? Or what is one of those positive outcomes?
I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, you know what? In this season, parents have had to be very hands-on with their kids and very involved in that. But the awesome thing is that parents have also been sitting with their kids and experiencing Hillsong Kids on the line, you know? And so I feel like our parents have such a greater understanding of what our Hillsong Kids team and our leaders bring on a Sunday when it comes to involving their children and teaching their children. Because usually the parents see the kids at drop off, they see the kids when they pick them up, and they either, you know, it's hang time or it's them just finishing up in their groups, but they don't see what happens in the service. They don't see the praise and worship and the ask gods and the thank gods and, you know, all the different elements that make up the service. Whereas now, with them being involved and more hands-on on a Sunday and watching with their kids, they have a greater understanding. So I feel like parents will trust our team more as well with their child's spiritual, you know, being, but also parents are learning to be more involved in and being more hands-on with their kids and what they're learning. So yeah, so I think that's going to be something really positive going forward.
Absolutely. Taryn Mundell, thank you so much. Look, there's a bunch of, the questions around there. I'm just seeing anything else. Yeah, we've talked about all of those. Any more shout outs? Shout out to Michael, shout out to, someone says go Taryn. Someone says go Taryn. Connie, Emily, hey Rachel, Stephen, Randall. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is almost the end of our stream today. So thank you so much for joining us. Taryn is a part of Hillsong Church, so if you want to see what they're doing, you can go to Hillsong Kids SA. Is Hillsong Kids SA?
Yeah.
And all the things that they're talking about, the midweek stuff, Hillsong Kids on Instagram is doing a lot of stuff as well. If you want to look from the outside into what we're doing as a church, you can see that. Check out our latest episode of the Vault podcast with Jess Mclean and Funny Man Dan and I, where we talk about it. We go through in detail what Hillsong Kids Australia is doing. Subscribe to this channel, Hillsong Kids. Funny Man Dan has a channel. HSK Crew is a gaming channel that we use to connect with our kids. You can check out what we're doing with that. There's a lot of ways to see from the outside in of what we're doing, so I encourage you to check it out, because you can always get inspiration from what other churches are doing. Taryn, thank you so much. A farewell to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And as they say in Afrikaans,
Nog, goeienacht.
Perfect. All right, wonderful. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. It's been a real honor. This is the second of a two-part series we've done. It's all on Hillsong Kids Leadership Plus channel. You can see all of the content we've done. There's some very interesting comments and thoughts in the first video. So please check it out. The more you learn, the more you grow. Blessings upon you. We will see you another time on the internets.